I'm Meredith Blackwell. I'm at the Mycological Society of America meeting in Minneapolis. The year is 2019. And we're interviewing mycologists for the oral history for Mycology project. And I'm here with Humberto and Efrain, and they're going to start out telling us where they're from and what they do, one at a time.
Okay, my name is Humberto Castillo. I'm originally from Costa Rica. I'm a grad student at University of Maryland. My advisor is Priscilla Chaveri, who's also from Costa Rica, and who has done a lot of work, especially with trichoderma and also with endophytes. So part of what I'm doing in my project is continuing in the line of endophytes.
Okay.
Our project is based in Costa Rica, and I'm trying to look into the diversity of endophytes in Rubiaceae, which is a hyper-diverse family of plants, and the most important one commercially is coffee. Mm-hmm. So we want to see how we can use the information from the diversity of endophytes to sort of like use them as a tool maybe in the future as to engineer microbiomes and help plants, providing them the tools that they could use to fight off pathogens or adapt to new environments.
Okay. Yeah, I have a friend at the USDA who's from Puerto Rico. Do you know Fernando Vega by any chance?
No.
Because he's right near you. You
Yeah,
should meet him.
right, yeah,
You should meet him
USDA
at
is right
Beltsville.
there, Beltsville,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll come back to that in a minute, but what are you doing, Efrain?
Okay, well, I'm Efrain Escudero, so originally I'm from Mexico, but now I have 3 years in Costa Rica doing the PhD program. And also Priscilla Chaveri is my advisor, so we are companions and friends in this PhD project. And basically what I'm doing in Costa Rica is we are trying those endophytes that we have selected from the Rubiaceae plants, and we have tried them on the coffee plants, and we have some nice results. And there are people from the coffee industry that are interested now in to apply some of the most promising endophytes like Trichoderma and other genera for controlling the pests for the coffee. Mm-hmm.
You won't guess it, but way long time ago, 40 or 50 years ago, I illustrated the Rubiaceae in a project that the Missouri Botanical Garden was doing. And so I did illustrations for some of these.
Nice.
But it was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really interesting group of plants. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so Priscilla is your professor at Costa Rica, so she goes between?
Yeah, just have like a joint appointment, Maryland and Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she being from there, she always like wanted to like use the information and all the education that she has been through in the United States and all the exposure that she has gained as a professional and a researcher here, you know, to take it back home and use that, and also, like in my case, motivate younger scientists in this field of mycology, and like kind of to go back home and try to grow that field.
So she's being successful then. She's got
right.
And from what part of Mexico are you from?
I'm originally from the south part. It's called Oaxaca.
Oh, I've been to Oaxaca.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's a wonderful place. I love it.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, Monte Alban and the other ruins.
Yeah, and also the nature is quite interesting there. Mm-hmm. We have the Sierra Norte and stuff like that.
Yeah, we went there. We were supposed to be going somewhere else in Mexico, but I took a wrong turn with the map. And went there first, and then we had to come back and go to Mexico City. But anyway, no, it was a wonderful trip. It was
nice.
A long time ago. I went all over Mexico, from Austin, Texas, where I was in school, all around the country.
Wow.
Yeah.
Such a trip.
To Guadalajara, Morelia.
So you were all the Pacific, basically.
And then around the Atlantic.
The Atlantic, from Texas.
Yeah. And then I've been to Querétaro and some other places in the center,
in
but
between.
mostly around the country.
Oh, nice, wonderful.
Very nice.
Mhm.
Yeah. So with the coffee and the was that where they isolated some of the things that are insect associated? Were there insect associated things that are endophytes?
Yeah, well, there are
Did you do
basically
that
more
work?
entomopathogenic
Right,
species. Yeah, we have
right.
Tolipocadium, and also we have Clonostacis, and what is the name of this genus? No,
But it was
Poconia.
it was a
Poconia.
surprise to find those as endophytes, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. There are some works that have shown that wild species, not only from Rubiaceae but also from Hevea, have entomopathogenic species as endophytes. So it is based that they are promoting some kind of herbivory control thing. So maybe they are doing this through some volatile compounds, maybe. So the question is unanswered. So.
Okay, have you been able to compare the endophytes of Hevea in their native habitat and in some of the plantations in Asia?
Well,
Are they the same, or do they keep picking up things? They probably don't stand over many years. They pick up what's local.
Yeah, well, we have for what we have samples, cultured fungi, but also we have this metagenomic part. So they are correlated.
Yeah.
We have basically Sorderomycetes, and I don't know what you have found in the metagenomics.
So when it comes to like the DNA samples on culture fungi that we look at, definitely it's like a huge difference between coffee plants starting plantation versus the wild rubiaceae that we find in the mountain, in the wild. Yeah.
Not even similar genera.
Some of them are similar, yeah, like at least in the class, or but it's more like the amount. If you go to the mountain and you get wild rubiaceae, you can get, like, we're getting up to like 5,000 OTUs, for example. And if you get a coffee plant, it's only like 300 or 400. So that's 10 times difference in diversity. Like what happens, it's in most cases, at least for the wild rubiaceae, we cannot assign a taxonomy. So it's usually, we just know that that's a fungal sequence, right? It's easier with coffee plants since they don't have as many diverse fungi. But yeah, they seem to share like a core
group.
Exactly, group of fungi that are present.
Efrain, you just gave a paper.
Yeah.
5 minutes ago? What was it?
Yeah, well, no, I have 2 papers on.
Oh,
but
you have
they are
another one to
impressed.
go?
Yeah, no, I want to go.
No, still nervous.
Yeah.
So what are they about?
The first one is about these endophytes that we have tested in vitro antagonistic assays, and the second one is basically a bioinformatic pipeline, because we wanted to show especially young students that are starting with diversity analysis how to perform sequence analysis, ITS mainly. So we are using a very high-specific cluster computational software. So we have a step-by-step pipeline underwriting.
Yeah.
And the third one will be based on...
You're giving 3 papers?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's what the school is demanding. So yeah, but it's okay, because now we are working on this part of secondary metabolites, also from these successful endophytic species that we have tested.
Are you finding any common compounds?
We are now observing the first peaks, and yeah, there are some interesting things, but we need to perform more assays. We are going to do this in the next semester.
Okay, anything in Hevea we should stay away from?
Yeah.
Do the endophytes get into the beans, the cherries, or whatever they're called?
Yeah, well, it is supposed that, well, we hope that we have some systemic species, and if we have these systemic species, then the coffee producers will be able to apply it just once in a life, and they
Oh.
will be hanging
Okay.
there forever. Well,
Yeah.
that's what we hope.
Humberto, you giving a paper?
Yeah, I'm giving a presentation tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
And
in
what,
the afternoon.
What is it?
So I'm gonna be talking a little bit about the ecological drivers of endophytic communities in tropical plants. But at first I was looking at a lot of factors, and then I decided that it was too much to talk about in only 12, 15 minutes. So I'm gonna be focusing mostly on the role of secondary metabolites.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to endophytes, there are all these unanswered questions, right? It's like a big black
Yeah.
box, and it's still a very unexplored group. So we wanted to see what is the role of secondary metabolites, not only coming from the plant, but also coming from the endophytes in those communities. We kind of hypothesized that the plants are selecting lineages of fungi to live in its tissues, mostly because a lot of these chemical compounds have antifungal properties, right? So thriving inside a plant tissue, it's like thriving in a super toxic environment.
Okay.
So, but yet we find, like when we do, for example, a metagenomic analysis, it's like thousands, if not millions, of sequences that we get back. So they have like all these fungi living there, and we want to see, okay, is there any correlation between how is the plant internal environment, like the chemoprofile, and these species that we're finding as endophytes. So yeah, a little bit of that, and testing if the chemoprofile of the plant is different according to the developmental stage of the tissues, and also if the diversity changes according to the developmental stage of the tissue.
When I was a graduate student at Texas, I was very jealous of all of the plant taxonomists there because they were studying secondary metabolites.
Yeah.
And nobody was doing that with fungi.
Fungi.
And I thought it would have been so interesting. And now you guys are
Yeah,
doing it.
it's
The plants and the fungi.
Yeah, it is really interesting because, I mean, nature, we're all communicating, right? Everything that it's alive, it's communicating somehow. And the way we do it, it's via chemical cues. And maybe us as humans are not that aware of that just because we rely on talking or what we can see or what we can touch. But microorganisms, plants, they rely on these chemical compounds in this repertoire of signaling molecules that they're producing. So they can like sense the environment or like just like send a signal to what's in the environment, or when they get a pathogen attacked or a herbivore attacked, or just like to interact between each other to attract helpers, friends, or just like to exclude and fight off microorganisms that they don't want to be there. So definitely secondary metabolites play a very important role when it comes to like all these ecological interactions.
Okay, so let's get to dogs. I love dogs. And we were just talking with Tom Harrington. I saw a poster at a meeting several years ago where they were using dogs to detect fungi in plants. And I just wonder, since yours may have some secondary metabolites, has anyone ever used dogs to find them?
Yeah.
Not that you know of.
No.
Was an idea maybe you can take back.
Right? Yeah. It's like those dogs that are at the airports.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
That
You can
they're-
train them.
Yeah, exactly. To find pathogens or like produce that.
There's nothing better than a dog to find something.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we have now some very high specific equipment for secondary metabolites analysis, but they are not so powerful like a dog's nose. Yeah.
I know. And,
Yeah, they can pick up like
yeah, I
very
have a
specific.
friend who came from Europe, and she had an apple with her, and she doesn't like dogs, and this dog kept sitting on her foot. It was a beagle, and it was one of the ones the
Those-
USDA.
Yeah, exactly. Those are
Yeah,
those
so-
beagles.
Okay, so let me ask you a more personal question. I have trouble with language. When I learned, I grew up in a French-speaking part of Louisiana, but my
Oh.
family didn't speak French.
No.
And so I didn't learn French until high school, and it was mostly written, and I learned to read. And then in college I took German. But you guys, what age were you when you started English? Because you're very literate.
Oh, thank you.
Able to talk very well.
Yeah, so for me, I started in middle school when I was like, 13. It was definitely a struggle because when I was in elementary school, I was exposed to French, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I love
Really?
French. Yeah, I think it's a beautiful language. And then, like out of the blue, from one day to the other, I was at this bilingual middle school, and we were getting English classes, every single day. And I remember my first exam, I couldn't even understand the instructions, so I didn't know what to do. It was so bad. I just felt like I wanted to cry because I couldn't.
So frustrating.
Exactly, because I was like, I didn't even understand the instructions of the exam. What am I supposed to do? And there's always like, you have to make a composition, you know, like write a paragraph, and it will be like Spanglish most of the time. So I would like have 2 words in English and then 5 words in Spanish, 2 words in English, and like that. But I'm like really happy that I got a chance to go to this middle school and high school, because they would really push you into the importance of learning another language, especially English, especially if you come from a Latin American country.
Yeah, it's kind of unfair, but
yeah.
as an English speaker, I'm lucky. And what about you?
Well, I start learning English like, well, since maybe 5 years, but
That's all.
but it starts to being tough at maybe 10 years old. Yeah, in the school.
Okay. Yeah.
And fortunately, I went to a school where we can practice a lot. So
so
that's how it works.
Yeah, and it's funny, knowing French, I thought it would be easy for me to learn Spanish. But I pronounce all the words wrong, like French.
Yeah.
Because they're so close.
They're very similar. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Like
can
all
read
this.
better than I speak.
It happens.
Yeah.
No, it happens.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know that I'll get to hear your other talks because we've been in
Really
here and we
busy.
need to get some interviews down. But I'm really glad we got to interview you. Thank you
thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
We'll keep
Thank
up
you.
with
It's
your
been a
work.
pleasure.
Written papers, that's better than a
Yeah.
talk at a meeting.
Yeah, right.
Okay.